All right, people. It's your boy Chid from Gooner Eagle Eye, coming to you again for the Arsenal fan preview. Um, Sorry about my last video. I I rewatched it and I thought, oh my gosh, what? I just was babbling. I knew what I meant. I knew what I meant in terms of that chill when I was watching Arsenal play. It just felt like things were starting to click right. Had some feedback since from people saying, "Chip, what are you talking about?" So I will try and keep it very succinct from now on, going forward. But I knew what I meant anyway. Um, Essentially, I wanted to really talk about the Arsenal Chelsea game, and a lot of people have asked me why I didn't mention the Wenger's 20-year anniversary. I intentionally left it for this video, given who we're playing. We always have a habit of playing Chelsea right when Wenger celebrates an important milestone. And the last time we had an anniversary for Wenger and we played Chelsea, it didn't end well. In fact, to be specific, we lost 6-0. That was a horrible, horrible anniversary. I'm hoping, and all the signs look like we will be planning to give Wenger a proper send off in terms of his anniversary. All the signs are looking good with respect to that. And you know what? Say what you want about Wenger. You guys know my feelings about Wenger. I hope that his current contract is his final contract. Not because I hate the man. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. I I like many of you, like some of you, I get very frustrated by certain things about Wenger. Um, they have been well documented. I'm not going to turn this into a bashing Wenger fest on his anniversary of all times. But there's just certain things that Wenger does positively. Like today, you just had that scumbag Jose Mourinho who is promoting his book. And usually when you promote a book, you kind of release certain transcripts, usually the controversial ones, because let's face it, that's what people are going to buy the book on, those transcripts. And one of those transcripts was an extract from the book that basically said, um, I at some point I hated Wenger for so much that sometimes I just wanted to punch him in the face. I mean, uh, how can, as a professional person, how on earth? I mean, the people who know me will know why I'm reacting in particular to this, given my day-to-day job. It's just unbelievable that someone could even if you think that, to admit something like that and you're still working in that profession is unbelievable. That you readily admit that you wanted to punch one of your colleagues, to the whole world no less. But how on earth you can think that way is just unbelievable to me. Um, and out of what, really? I mean, according to Wenger, according to Jose, Wenger is a specialist in failure. He should be no threat to Jose, according to him. But I've never seen somebody so obsessed with one man in my entire life. And Jose is ridiculously obsessed with Wenger. Ridiculously. And the reason why I'm even talking about Jose, because you're probably thinking, well, Chig, what has this got to do with anything? Jose is manager of Man United. I know this, but let's face it, he spent the majority of his career at Chelsea. He had 2 spells there. And a lot of this hype is due to the fact that we have a psychological block when it comes to Chelsea. Having said that, I'm kind of skipping ahead of myself. I'll come back to this. For a man to be in any profession for 20 years, in any profession, in any walk of life, deserves respect. Because it shows, for one thing, that you are competent in that role, more than in a lot of cases. You are consistent in that role. A word that seems to be a dirty word in football, but consistency is not necessarily a bad thing. We all have expectations, and some of us as a fan group have different expectations, but there's a lot to be said about consistency, and about the continued passion for something, to be able to do anything for 20 years. My gosh, I get bored if I start doing something for 20 minutes. Never mind for 20 years. 20 years to have the same commitment, the same drive. Let's have it right. I'm a critic of Wenger. I'm a big critic of Wenger. But even I can put that aside and say that the man is a visionary when it comes to football. And you are just a straight hater or a spud if you say otherwise. You know, he is an absolute visionary. He came into the game and the headlines was Arsenal who. And you go back and you listen to any interview from any previous Arsenal player, particularly that back five, that famous back five, and they will happily tell you, Wenger extended my career by 3-4 years with his change in diet. We're coming in and changing the diet, changing the way they play, making sure that they had sports psychologists, making sure that they had the proper minerals that they were taking. Everything was in detail. It not too reminiscent. I mean, it's not too different from what Pep is doing at City now, where Pep has gone into City and is just dissecting every single thing that's happening at City. That's exactly what Wenger did 20 years before him. Just dissected every single thing that was happening in the club and just turned that club around more or less overnight into a consistent top four team, into a absolute powerhouse for English football. The first 10 years of Wenger's reign at Arsenal, no one can deny it. The last 10, well, I said I would not turn this into a negative, and I'm not going to. But for whatever you want to say, for whatever critics you have, and hey, you guys have heard me, I am one of them. The man isn't, to use an overused word, is an absolute legend at the club. And I personally believe that when we inevitably secure our top four place one more time, that this is the season he should go. And I think I'm starting to believe this is the season he will go. And when he does that, for me, despite of all the criticism I've had of him, I'm not going to look at Wenger negatively. Never. I'm going to look at him as someone who did everything they could in the club. And regardless of whether you think it's good enough now, or, you know, regardless of what you think about him now, he gave everything. You don't give 20 years of your life to something and you're trying to tell me in the same breath that it meant nothing to him. And then going back to the Jose thing, the reason why I mentioned the Jose thing is when that Jose thing came up and they asked Wenger about it, there's lots of managers that would not have handled that well. I'll be real with you. I wouldn't have handled that well. And if you guys know my profession, you would probably think, well, why wouldn't you handle it well given your profession? You must hear them type of things all day. And you're right to a certain degree, but I must admit, I'm also a human being. I'm not sure I would have handled that well. But he very calmly said, you know what? Do with the game. He said something, I think he had a brilliant quote. He said something like, I said something like, I'm not destructive, I'm constructive, which I thought was a brilliant line. He said that, he's heard about the book. He won't be personally reading the book or buying the book, and just moved on. Just handled it perfectly. And for whatever you want to say about Wenger, you can talk about banners, you can talk about DT, you can talk about angry Arsenal fans, you can talk about Wenger ins and Wenger outs, you can talk about anything you want. There is one thing that every single Arsenal fan will agree with, that the man is beyond class. Beyond class. And that's why I'll always have respect for him. And I intentionally waited until this preview video because I wanted to link it in with the Chelsea game. The last time we had a major milestone like this, we completely and utterly cocked it up. It was Wenger's 1000th game. And the funny thing is, very much like this situation, I remember going into that game, everyone was really optimistic. For some reason, I wasn't. But I remember everyone was really optimistic. And I even watched Arsenal Fan TV, and some people were talking about potentially, we might win that game 2-0, we might win that game 2-1. I didn't share that. I was not confident we'd go to Stamford Bridge and win. But I felt like if we came out of there with a draw, then that'd be a great result in my mind. Not only did that not happen, not only did we lose that game, I mean, there's certain ways to lose a game, but we got absolutely ransacked, flipped over, and then got ransacked again. I've seen some bad Arsenal performances. That one ranks just behind the 8-2 for me. Probably just behind the 8-2, and probably alongside the 6-1 both to United. Oh, it was a horrendous game. I felt so sick inside. I never felt so bad as an Arsenal fan because I did not understand where that came from. That can't happen tomorrow. It can't. We must put every ounce of effort into that game. I don't care what it takes. We need to beat Chelsea tomorrow at home. And we don't play that well at home. In fact, our best two performances so far this season have come on the back of our last two games, which were both away. Hull and most recently Nottingham Forest. We're two very different teams. Speaking of the teams, you guys know in my preview videos, I normally like to go with a predicted 1 to 11 lineup. Doing these is getting increasingly difficult. I'm going to try and do this. I'm not confident it's going to be correct, but I'm going to try and go with what Wenger thinks. And I'll also mention what I would do. But this is my predicted 1 to 11 lineup to face Chelsea tomorrow evening. Okay, here we go. So I think Czech will start in goal. I think Bellerin starts right back, as they both should. I think Mustafi looks like, particularly against Hull, he looked very comfortable, albeit the goal did still go in with against Hull. But I blame the whole team. I don't blame Mustafi. Um, and I believe he will start alongside Kashani, as they both should. They're both rested midweek. They'll be nice and fresh. Monreal will be left back. And I believe that five, I think, are a sure lock. This is where it gets difficult. Now, I've thought and thought about this, and I've changed my mind a few times. This is what I think Wenger is going to do. I think he'll stick with Iwobi down the right. I believe Coquelin will play. And you could argue he should. He's on form. I think Wenger will make the tough call. He says. I think Wenger will make the tough call and drop Santi to the bench and Xhaka will play. You don't pay 35 million for a player and bench him. And I get what he's saying about some pairs work better with others. I get that, but the only way they're going to improve is by playing them. So form that relationship now, particularly while Coquelin is on form. Use that, because I know there's a lot of controversy in terms of Chelsea have a big decision in themselves about who's going to play. If Cesc plays, albeit all right, it's against his old team, he's on form himself. You know, if Matic plays, then we need someone alongside Coquelin that's going to be just as combative as him. And you know Kante is playing already. So let's match them like for like in that middle and go with Xhaka. And I just believe, I think Xhaka will rise to the occasion of that game. I think he'll get himself a yellow card because the man's a feisty git. But I think he will rise to the occasion. So I'm hoping, beyond hope, that would be the midfield pairing. And just be brave and drop Santi. I love Santi too, but some games are better for him than others. This is one of those games he just needs to sit down. And then what would I do? Now, what I would do would be to play Sanchez there and to play Giroud up top. I've got this horrible feeling he's going to play Alex on the left. I'm hoping he doesn't do that. So I'm going to ignore that horrible feeling. And I'm going to go with Sanchez out left. In spite of the fact that Sanchez scored 2 goals up front against Hull, I think he will realise it's best to just give Alexis a free role on the left. Ozil will be the number 10. And I think you'll see Giroud come back. The fact that Giroud didn't play on Tuesday indicates to me that he's going to play on Saturday. And that's the reason why I've changed my mind for the 3rd time about Giroud playing. So I think Giroud will start up front. Funnily enough, if Wenger goes with that, and I've gone against all instincts that says he won't go with that, but if he does go with that, I agree with that team 100% wholeheartedly. Yes, Alex played well against Forest. I still would not start him in this game. Yes, Theo has been showing signs of life. I still would not start him in this game. It would not surprise me if he starts Alexis up front, Iwobi on the left, Theo on the right. If you have to start Alexis up front, I don't necessarily mind that. But Xhaka must play is the point I'm essentially trying to make. And I think provided we have one of those 2 teams, we'll win 2-1. He says, we'll win 2-1, provided he has one of those two teams. But if he goes to the same team against Hull and Sanchez and Santi plays, I fear we're going to get overrun in that middle, and I believe we'll probably draw at best. So there you have it. 20 years could be defined in this one game. After 20 years of hard work, that team owes that man a performance. I hope we do it. I hope we give Wenger a real good anniversary gift, because after that 6-0, we 100% owe him. Not as fans, the players owe him. As fans, for once, I want us to be ruckus in the Emirates and really get behind the team and play that 12th man like we always should. But in this game in particular, because the players are going to need it, in my opinion. And that's pretty much it. So that was my succinct, for once, preview. I'm hoping you liked it. Do comment down below if you have any thoughts about the game. Do you have any predicted 1 to 11 lineups yourself? If you're listening to me for the first time, hi, my name's Chig. I hope you liked the content today. Do hit the subscribe button down below, and you'll have a lot more content to come. If you're on Twitter and you're not following me already, what are you doing? There's a little tag. Look, I'm going to try and point at this thing. Hold on. There you go. Wait, there you go. Colossal Chick. Do follow me on Twitter. And that's it. So now, I've got nothing left to say other than let's have that nervous wait. Literally, that real nervous wait until Saturday, 5:30. Come on, Arsenal. Got this. All right, people, I'm out of here. Take care. Peace.